Amagiri Haruka faced off against her masked opponent at an underground Eclipse tournament. The two exchanged blows before stopping at each end of the arena to activate their respective meteor arts. Haruka lunged forward for one last strike, however her opponent cut her down. As she lay on the floor, Haruka apologized to Ayato. At the end of the century, a disaster known as the Invertia struck the Earth. Country's power diminished, bringing the rise of the Integrated Enterprise Foundation. The Integrated Enterprise Foundation created Asterisk, each establishing a symbol there. Invertia also gave birth to Genestella, humans with enhanced physical abilities. While walking along a path within Seidoukan Academy, Amagiri Ayato caught a pink handkerchief. Seeing that it came from a room above, Ayato jumped onto the windowsill, only to find Julius Reesfield in her underwear. Sounds like a lucky fella to me. Julius challenged him to a duel to humiliate him, but to her surprise, Ayato easily managed to defeat her. Later, Ayato meets Claudia Enfield, the student council president who guides him about the academy and its rules. She explains the 6 Asterisk schools participating in the annual Festa fighting tournaments and how their school performance has been declining over recent years. Upon asking, Ayato tells about his purpose of transferring to the school, to find out the whereabouts of his missing sister named Amagiri Haruka. Claudia shows him the remaining files about Haruka and the powerful weapon called Serveresta. Outside, Julius is again challenged by one of the persistent guys at the academy. She easily defeats him again while claiming that she will be the one to win all 3 upcoming festas, much to Ayato's surprise. In a dream flashback, Ayato remembers his talk with his sister, who tells him about the power sealed within him that will only be unchained when Ayato has found his desired calling. In the morning, Ayato has a friendly chat with Julius and other fellow students, and while talking, Ayato asks Julius why she's bent on participating in festas despite being a princess of a country, to which she bluntly replies that her country needs money. That's why she's participating in festas, to save her country from economic crisis. Ayato is shocked to find that his childhood friend, Sasamiya Suichi, is his classmate and rival of Julius. Claudia suddenly arrives, surprising Ayato, and says she would be the most qualified as she had been attending Seidoukan before Seiya and even Julius arrived. She returns to business, informing Ayato that his Lux weapon selection and compatibility test would be the day after and giving him documents to sign. Inside the testing room, Ayato witnesses the powerful Serveresta blade and tries to wield it, but it begins attacking him, much to everyone's surprise. With a bit of a trick, Ayato manages to take control of it with a 99% compatibility rate, which is quite rare. Later in the evening, Ayato infiltrates the girls' dormitory once again, this time specifically landing on Claudia's balcony, to meet her at her request. Claudia herself is in the shower, and a flashback is shown of Claudia bandaging Ayato's burnt hand and requesting a favor from him. Ayato enters her room and is shocked when Claudia steps out of the bathroom in nothing but a bathrobe, smiling. At first, Claudia teases Ayato a bit, saying he should pay more attention to her, causing Ayato to be embarrassed. Back to business, she tells him about the upcoming Phoenix Festa, and how some mysterious men have attacked their students, causing them to withdraw from the event. She requests him to remain by Julius's side till the event, as she is likely to be targeted, to which Ayato somehow agrees. The next day, Julius takes Ayato on a tour of the city, and surprisingly, Julius enjoyed spending this time with Ayato despite being a tsundere. Their lunch is interrupted by Lester, who again demands a duel with Julius, but Ayato tells him not to cause any fuss here, causing Lester to attack him. But Ayato remains standing there with a firm resolve. Eventually, Lester leaves at the request of his subordinates. On the way back home, Julius and Ayato witness a brawl happening between the students of another academy, but Julius soon sees through this feint and forces one of the guys to spill the beans. She suddenly notices a guy in a black robe hiding behind trees and rushes to follow him, while Ayato keeps shouting to not go without him. In the forest, Julius fights several mysterious men, but a man sneaks behind her and attacks her with a charged arrow. Fortunately, Ayato steps in to save her. Later, Julius invites Ayato into her home and bluntly asks him to remove his clothes. Upon seeing Ayato's hesitation, Julius gets embarrassed and says she only wants to repair his bruised clothes. Julius tells him about her childhood life, where a bunch of kids in the slums saved her and became her friends, and she's working hard to raise money for the orphanage that takes care of her friends from the slums. Later, Julius receives a letter threatening to hurt Ayato and hurries to confront the adversary. Upon learning about it, Ayato makes his resolve and chases after Julius. Julius reaches the mentioned place in the letter and meets the offender, who turns out to be one of Lester's subordinates named Silas Norman, who has joined hands with other academies to prevent candidates from joining the Phoenix Festa. He calls out Lester and asks him to join as well, but he refuses to take part in such underhanded tactics and attacks him. However, Norman summons some shady robots to counter Lester's attack. The robots turn out to be quite powerful and sturdy, much to Lester's surprise. Eventually, Lester and Julius are outnumbered, and just when things are about to get dangerous, Ayato arrives and saves Julius from a deadly attack. In a rage, Norman directs all of his robots towards Ayato, but he brilliantly manages to destroy most of them in a single go by using Sir Veresta. In a pure mech anime fashion, Norman uses his trump card, which is a giant, powerful robot with various weapons at its disposal. Ayato analyzes its weak points and dashes to end this ridiculous game. In an instant, Norman's most powerful robot is destroyed, much to his dismay. Out of moves, he tries to escape using a flying robot, but with Julius's help, Ayato manages to destroy the robot, causing Norman to fall. Later, Julius thanks Ayato for doing so much for her, which she replies that he wants to help her out of his own decision. Therefore, Julius just entrusts her safety to him. All of these bold claims ended up making Julius embarrassed in the end. On the other hand, Claudia captures Norman by using her dual Lux weapon. A few days later, Claudia attends a joint meeting of student council presidents from different academies to discuss a collaboration in developing a new Lux weapon. On the other hand, Ayato participates in a practice session with Julius. Both of them display their powerful moves, but like always, Ayato prevails. They are suddenly interrupted by the arrival of Claudia and some girls from another academy visiting for the scheduled collaboration. One of the girls, named Ernesta, reveals herself to be the engineer behind the dolls that Ayato fought and destroyed, much to everyone's surprise. Later, Ayato witnesses a small girl who is about to get slapped by a man and rushes to save her. The man turned out to be the uncle of the girl, named Kirin Todo. But still, Ayato couldn't accept such behavior towards a girl, so he told him not to treat her this way. Kirin's uncle proposed a duel. If Ayato beats Kirin, he will not be hard on her. With no option left, Ayato accepts the duel and a fight breaks out between them. While fighting, Ayato learns that Kirin is from a prestigious family skilled in sword fighting, and despite her apparent small body, she holds massive power and techniques. Ayato barely manages to dodge her incoming attacks, while she seems to avoid his strikes easily. With his strength reaching the limit, Ayato decided to go all in for a strike. Before he could realize it, Kirin destroyed his badge and emerged as the winner of this duel. Julius scolds Ayato for recklessly participating in a duel while telling him that Kirin is their school's top-ranked student. Ayato recovers in the infirmary office while Julius enters and tells him that she would have done the same thing if she had seen such torture, causing Ayato to take a breath of relief. Later, Ayato visits Claudia to take the student badge. She tells him about Kirin's uncle, who is desperate to join the Academy executive panel. Amidst this talk, Claudia reveals that her own mother is also an executive, much to Ayato's surprise. On his way back to the dorm, Ayato comes across Kirin again, who was here to thank him earlier for his help. She tells him about her imprisoned father, and she's working hard to win the upcoming Festus to free him. Kirin expresses her desire to train with a fellow, but she can't just train with anyone due to restrictions. Ayato promises her that he will train with her, causing Kirin to be happy and a bit embarrassed. Later, Julius inquires Ayato about his training sessions with Kirin while making a jealous face, but Ayato assures her that he will only be Julius's partner. On one of the training days, some monsters attacked Ayato and Kirin. First, Ayato destroys them with his sword moves. To his shock, the monsters ended up reviving again and again until Kirin finally destroyed their core. Ayato and Kirin plummeted through a hole in the earth that was made by the monsters' fireball blasts. The researcher girls from the Seidoukan Academy were the perpetrators behind this incident, as they continue to observe everything from their lab. Ayato and Kirin find themselves in a sewer, all soaked up. Suddenly, a giant dragon emerges from underwater, and Ayato ends up using his restrained power and manages to kill it in a single strike with Sir Veresta, shocking Kirin. Later, Kirin makes up her mind to win this festa through her own decisions, and says farewell to her uncle, who continues to curse her as she walks away with a determined look. Ayato and Kirin have a practice session in the training room, and by going all out, Ayato defeats Kirin in a fair match. Kirin's uncle follows her to the training room, but Claudia intervenes and tells him not to mess with Kirin again, as she will take strict action if he does. Kirin officially joins Ayato's squad and becomes friends with Julius and Seiya. On the other hand, Ernesta from Seidoukan saves all of the data acquired during her stay at Seidoukan Academy, including the fighting patterns and skills of Ayato, Julius, and Kirin. She leaves with a smirk on her face. Ayato suggests doing other activities together, like spending time together to improve their teamwork and bond. Seiya takes Kirin out to shop for her father's birthday present. After that, with some encouragement from Seiya, Kirin asks her for some swimming lessons. Seiya informs her that Ayato would be the better choice as a tutor for swimming. Kirin blushes and responds that she wanted to do at least this behind his back and show him her spirit. Seiya then leaves to buy drinks and tells Kirin to continue the practice of kicking the water. She rams into Violet from Queen Vale Girls Academy, Academy during her practice. She has an arrogant personality and trashes Kirin, who tries to apologize for the accident. After realizing that Kirin is from the Seidoukan Academy, she starts to act like she's generous and is overlooking this incident, excusing herself from the duel due to her aching stomach. Seiya, who has been watching from the sidelines, throws a board at Violet and knocks her down into the water. Angry Violet challenges Seiya to a duel after checking that Seiya is still unranked at Seidoukan Academy. Seiya agrees and instantly wins the duel by knocking out Violet with a single shot. After the duel, Seiya and Kirin chat. Seiya tells Kirin that her attitude allows anyone to abuse her, and she needs to work on it and change. Kirin asks Seiya why she picked her as a partner. Seiya answered with her reasons and also mentioned that she saw similarities between Kirin and Ayato, which was one of the main reasons. The Kirin and Seiya pair are again doing the team practice, but this time their coordination and teamwork have improved, resulting in them beating Ayato and Julius's team score in practice. Ayato praises this improvement and tells Julius they must also buck up and improve. Dirk Eberwein and Kashimaru Corona are walking at the Wolf Black Institute's discipline rooms. They are visited by Irene Erzais. Dirk told her to join the Phoenix Festa in order to destroy Amagiri Ayato. When questioned as to why he was targeted, Dirk asked Corona to show Sir Veresta. He informed Irene that the Ogre Lux would be a hindrance to them. Before agreeing to participate, she asked if her younger sister was not touched. Irene was then freed from her electronic handcuffs. Amagiri Ayato and Julius Reesfield were at the opening ceremony at the Phoenix Festa. The loud cheer amazed Ayato. Madiath Mesa went to the podium to give the opening remarks. He introduced himself as the chairman of the Festa steering committee, and Ayato was surprised at how young he was. Julius told him that Mesa is an alumni of Seidoukan Academy and won the Phoenix Festa. In Mesa's speech, he announced that several rules have changed for this year's Phoenix Festa. The bans on certain weapons have been lifted, specifically autonomous machines. Two of the puppets were briefly shown and their creators. After the speech, some of the presidents of each school were shown. Dirk seems to be dissatisfied with it. On the other hand, Ernest Fairclough and Claudia Einfield were smiling. Ayato and Julius have their first match against students from Galahadworth. Ayato makes a flashy entrance and instantly claims the victory. On the other hand, the new advanced autonomous robots of Ernest and Camilla Pareto are featured that instantly take out their opponents from Wolf Black Academy. At the Procyon Dome, Seiya and Kirin's match began. One of the commentators mistakenly assumed that Seiya was the former rank, until her partner corrected her. The pair chose their opponents and the match began. Kirin quickly defeated her opponent, then turned to check on her partner. To everyone's surprise, Seiya used her Type 34 Heavy Wave Cannon Arc Van Durst modified as a melee weapon to fight against the other opponent. Her opponent adapted to her fighting style, but ultimately lost against her meteor arts. On the fifth day, Ayato and Julius faced off against a pair from Queen Vale Girls Academy. Since Ayato defeated both opponents last time, Julius volunteered to fight them herself. After blocking several attacks, Julius used Prime Rose with a chant. One of her opponents tried blocking them, yet failed when she tripped. Her partner tried to fight Julius, but she got caught in Julius's Semi-Serrata and lost. Back in their room, Julius asked Ayato what he planned on doing. He planned on watching Seiya and Kirin's match, but Julius pointed out that it would be over by the time they got there, suggesting that they eat. He knew of a good place, though Julius, embarrassed, offered him the sandwiches that she made. As he ate, she told him they weren't very good. Nevertheless, she was happy when he complimented them. When he asked if she was going to eat, she asked him in a roundabout manner for him to pat her head as he did with the others. Julius became embarrassed and suggested that they watch a match. Surprised when they saw that Lester and Randy were fighting against Priscilla and Irene from Wolf Black Academy. At the Sirius Dome, Claudia congratulated Ayato on making the main draw, telling him that she had high expectations of them. She went on to try and flirt with him, though a call from Kirin allowed him to get out of the situation. Kirin reported that Seiya was missing, asking him to help look for her. Claudia pouted but immediately prioritized finding Seiya over her own time. The next day, Ayato told Julius that Priscilla invited them for dinner to thank him for saving her earlier from a group of pursuers. She was apprehensive of it because Irene and Priscilla were their next opponents, but nonetheless decided to go along with him. Priscilla welcomed them and served them handmade food. During the meal, while Priscilla was busy, Irene revealed that they had been bought by Dirk. needing a large amount of money to pay off their debt. Their entrance to Festa was restricted, and any money won couldn't be used to pay off their debt. Julius wondered what her goal was, prompting her to reveal that she was ordered to crush Ayato. Irene explained that Dirk feared the Serveresta, most likely because he had seen its previous user fight. Ayato realized that the previous user was Haruka and thought about it, then thanked her for the information. As they finished talking, Priscilla served everyone her paella. After they finished, Priscilla apologized to Ayato and Julius about everything. While she didn't like fighting, Irene was fighting for Priscilla, and she couldn't escape that fact. At Seidoukan Academy, Ayato asked Julius about the weapon Gravasheath, wielded by Irene. She asked if he sympathized with her, telling him to be concerned about their match instead. The next day, Ayato and Julius prepare for their match against Irene and Priscilla. Although Ayato has his doubts about this match's outcome, Julius assured him that they would win whatever the situation. Irene sucks her sister's blood as her Lux weapon called Gravasheath requires blood to unleash its full power. At the dorm, the match starts, and like always, Ayato makes a flashy entry just to cover the fact that chains restrain his power. Ayato decided to go straight for Irene's weapon while Julius continued to back him up with her fire spells, but Irene turned out to be too powerful as her weapon's ability to manipulate gravity is quite troublesome. After several strikes, Ayato and Julius decide to go for a large-scale combined attack, and for that purpose, Ayato must deal with Irene alone for some time while Julius can charge up his ultimate fire spell. They successfully manage to lure Irene into the trap while Julius activates the large-scale spell that overlaps Irene with fire. However, Gravasheath takes control of Irene and drives her crazy enough to attack her own sister. Ayato couldn't allow this tragedy to happen and activated his inner sealed power that gave Serveresta a new power to destroy Gravasheath. Ayato and Julius emerge as the victors of this match. However, Ayato's secret about his restricted power was leaked, and presidents of other academies decided to use this fact to their advantage. Afterward, Ayato rests in the room while Claudia, Kirin, and Seiya and Julius jump on him while claiming to nurse him back to health. In the post-credit scene, we see a man grinning while saying that his plan will be in action soon. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.